Hi everyone, Sarah here from Sarah Homfray Embroidery, and it's that time of year again for a little trip to the Harrogate Knitting and Stitching Show. So I say yearly trip, it didn't actually go last year for reasons I can't remember now, so it was nice to go back again this year, and I went with my sister Caroline, which is really nice because obviously she's an embroiderer too. So if you don't know Caroline, she does our Tamba videos on this channel, and she's done some videos with me on my other channel, Sarah Homfray Creates, about design. We did some painting on fabric, so go and check those out if you're interested to see what Caroline does. So it was nice to share it with Caroline and have another embroiderer's eye to have a look at all the wonderful work on display. So the stitching show happens in quite a few different venues around the United Kingdom. Big one down in London. They've just started one in Northern Ireland as well. But I like to go to the Harrogate one. So that's kind of covers the north of England, and it's a little bit nearer to where I am. And I just think it's a nicer venue. Alexandra Palace in London is huge, and there's at the top of a big hill that you have to climb up to get there. Harrogate's in the convention centre, which is attached to a beautiful theatre where you can go and have your lunch. You can go and sit at the theatre and have your lunch. So venue's beautiful, a little bit more sort of personal, I think. So Harrogate is always a popular one for us to go to. So I just thought I would show you around a little bit. I'll show you some of the things that were on display and things that I like there. I made a few purchases, not many, but I'll show you those as well, and just show you what inspired me and what I enjoyed from the show. So it's kind of split up into different parts of the convention centre. So the bit when you first go in, they have very large stands with artists' work on. So it's really nice when you go in just not to be faced with tons of shopping. There's plenty of time for that later, and to see some work. So you go straight into the venue and you're straight into people's work on the stands that they have. And I just thought I'd pull out a few things that really inspired me and I really enjoyed. And the first one is this butterfly effect. So what I'm going to do is put pictures up over here or full screen, depending on what size they are, but I've got them on my phone and I'm just going to look on my phone so I know what I'm talking about. So don't think I'm being rude. I'm on my phone while I'm talking to you. I'm not that clever. So I'm going to look at them on here, but they're going to appear on the screen for you. So this is the butterfly effect. So this is a project run by Helen Birmingham of Untangled Thread. Now it's a bit confusing, so I'm going to try and get this right. So if you're involved in this, or if you're Helen and you're watching this, I do hope I've got this right. Do correct me if I haven't. So Helen's company is Untangled Thread, and Helen does a lot of group projects, and she has a group called the Stitch Collective, which has lots of group members, and they do lots of collaborative projects together. So I think that's how it all works. So this Stitch Collective is, I think, about 200 people, and what they do is they decide on a project for the year that they're going to work on, and then Helen sort of coordinates it and manages it and is the driving force behind it and gets the materials, and then they all make these elements of the project, and then the elements come together and they can make this big installation which they can show at the stitching show. So this year's one is the butterfly effect. Bought the book, more on that in a second. And Helen's sort of ethos is that you use materials that you've already have, and you go and have a root around in your stash and you can use what's in your stash, and she will make bundles of materials to give to people, and she very much likes supporting the charity Mind. So it's a lot about mindful embroidery and about slow stitching, which I absolutely love, and I really believe in those things. So this one sort of struck a chord with me, and she just gets people to make these elements so they don't have to worry about putting it together and the complexities of that. They can just enjoy the process of making the elements. And this is what they came up with this year, this absolutely amazing dress with this huge cape covered in these butterflies. It's stunning. So I think the dress is another project that they did. So these sort of panels that go down the dress, and then you can see this magnificent cape, and those are all little butterflies on it. So I'll show you a few different images of that, and just all these people that have put their hand into this piece of work. And I really love that. I admire anybody who does a collaborative project, because I wouldn't even know where to start, really. You've got to have a lot of energy and some organisational skills to bring it all together. But they were absolutely beautiful. It looks stunning on the stand, and you can see all these amazing little butterflies that individuals have made, and it really stood out. It was stunning. You know, as soon as you saw it, we need to go and see what that's about. And then there's another one here called the Mind Garden. So this is the work of 66 individual members of the collective. That's the Stitch Collective group, made specifically for the butterfly effect installation. So it's part of the whole installation. and they made lots of these lovely little amazing gardens, and they were all in a little tin. So everybody kind of got a tin, and they would get some help with how to make their little garden. And then all the tins went together, and this garden was at the foot of this beautiful dress with the butterflies on it. It's absolutely amazing thing to come up with. And there's little birds nesting. I don't know if you can see them in this image or not, but little birds nesting in the back of the dress as well. So they made some felt birds, and all of these different elements are these projects that different people make, and then they all come together and make this wonderful installation. And I bought this little book from Helen about the project and about all the different elements, and she's so sort of generous with her time, because there's information on how to make all of the things in the installation. So if you want to have a go at them, there's a little project book, and it's got little links to videos, and you can go and see how to make all these things, and it talks about mindful embroidery and where to get some materials from as well. So really wonderful project, and I really wanted to show you that because I was quite inspired by the butterfly effect. So something else that really caught my eye was another collaboration. So 3 artists working together, and they had a sort of a theme that they worked on, and one of them stood out for me particularly, and that was Bev Caleno. I hope I've said that right. Bev Caleno. And they were sort of doing the seaside and the seashore, and these amazing fish were on the wall, and they're 3-dimensional, and they're actually sort of sticking out the wall. You could like almost pick them up and hold them, and I just loved the progress of these. So I loved the whole fish down to the part fish down to the skeleton of the fish, all stitched in lots of different techniques, and I thought those were absolutely wonderful. And you don't have to do something that sits in a frame. Often I get to people, well, what do you do with the embroidery? You know, you enjoy making the embroidery, but then what do you do with it? So I thought this was a really interesting take. It doesn't have to be in a frame, but you still put it on the wall. And she made these 3 amazing fish. I thought they were absolutely stunning. And then another couple of her pieces as well are some seaweed. Now these ones are in a frame, and these just look real. These could, you know, if you didn't know these were stitched and couldn't look up close, you'd just think those are pieces of seaweed. So absolutely beautiful how she'd made these very delicate fabrics and somehow managed to twist them and turn them and make them look really 3-dimensional, and just displayed those in display boxes. I love doing this with the real thing. I love collecting bits of seaweed and shells and stuff and making little collections of them. So to see them stitched was really wonderful, really inspiring. Actually, think, you know, actually really hard thing to turn into stitch. So really beautifully done. I will put links to all of these artists in the description below this video, by the way, so if you want to go and check out their work and their social medias and their websites, you can do that below. All the links will be down there. So once you get through the first hall into the second hall is shopping. And we went on a Saturday, and it was heaving. Oh my goodness, there were so many people. So we decided we weren't going to tackle that yet, but we wanted to get through it to get to the Embroiderers Guild stand. So we just basically heads down, elbows out, and ploughed through the crowd to get to the next bit. So we always loved the Embroiderers Guild stand. So they bring some pieces out from their collection, extensive collection, and they also have a members exhibition on as well. So it's always wonderful to see the work that's going on there. So their challenge this year, members challenge this year, was called Colour Rhythms. So they give a theme and you make your work based around that theme. And then a couple really stood out on here for me. So Zoe Childs did the Nightingale Love Song. This is absolutely stunning. And you can see, let me just find a picture of it. And you can see the 2 little nightingales and the music, embroidered music coming out of them, which I think was really wonderful, and the way that intertwines, and you can see the 2 separate songs from the 2 different birds, and it was wrapping around the birds, and you can imagine them singing. I thought that was really beautiful and kind of stitched on a sort of very fine linen kind of handkerchief. I don't know if it was originally a handkerchief or she's made it up into a handkerchief, but again, another really interesting way of displaying it, I thought, to do it on that background. So I thought that was really lovely. And then this piece by Catherine Hill, Flowers, Leaves and Berries, it's called, really caught my eye because this is something I love to do. So all of these little pieces of fabric, these little circles, are hand dyed, and she's actually stitched the instructions around the edge of the piece on how you do it. So it's got her the things that she's used to dye the plants with and how she's done it. She's written the instructions in stitch around the edge. Absolutely beautiful. And all those colours are natural dyes, and aren't they absolutely stunning? So really beautiful way of displaying it. I've dyed a lot of fabrics and threads, and they sit in a little box waiting for that moment, but this is a really nice way to display them. So I really loved that, and just the amount of work that's gone into dyeing all those as well. It's quite amazing. So really beautiful. And again, on that little square, maybe that little square was a size requirement, I don't know, but really beautiful way of displaying it. So the other thing they do on the Embroiderers Guild stand is they bring something out of their collection. And this year they had a little bit of a kind of a retro collection of some people that are well known in the Embroiderers Guild, but maybe was one current, but two that are not current, but people who've been involved in the guild for a long time and embroidery and textiles for a long time will know these names, and they pulled some of their work out and they showed their work. So the first one was Margaret Nicholson, very well known in the embroidery industry, in the embroidery world, for her ornue work. You can see why that's hard to say. So this is basically gold threads couched down in rows, and then you stitch over the rows in coloured embroidery thread, and that stitching makes the design. So it's very complex stitching. I'll put some pictures of hers up here for you to see. A lot of planning goes into this. You've really got to know where you're going to stitch, and then you've got to stitch each row of gold down separately, and then you have to do the colours as you go, and then where there isn't any colour, the gold shows through, and so the gold shines, and then the pattern's made by the colour, but you still have to stitch the gold down so it doesn't come off. So there's just more spaced out stitches where the gold are. So it's a lot of planning goes into these, an incredible amount of work. It's just a really slow technique to do, and she just did tons of it, loads and loads of it, and I really like the designs. They're kind of their time. She passed away in 2005, so you know, we're going back probably 30-40 years with some of these pieces, and embroidery can date quite a lot, but I really love these. I love the colours in them, I love the design, I love the little bit of shine coming through, a little bit of gold's always really nice. So it was lovely to see these on display and appreciate them again. So another one that they showed was Valerie Campbell Harding, another name well known in the Embroiderers Guild world. She's more of a machine embroiderer, and I think these ones do date a little bit from, I think you can tell when you look at them maybe when they were made, but they're still really interesting, and again the work that's gone into them is phenomenal. And I think with a lot of younger people coming up, the Embroiderers Guild have a sort of showcase for younger, they sponsor younger textile artists to come up, so I think it's really good for them to see what has been made in the past and what you can still do with it, and these things can go in cycles. So another artist on display was Shelley Rhodes. So Shelley Rhodes is very much current. You may have heard of her. She's very active currently in the textile world. She's got a couple of books out on the techniques that she uses, and really interesting techniques actually. She's sort of very interested in fragmentation and repair and putting layers of things together. So not so much traditional embroidery that I'm familiar with, which I think is why I'm interested in her techniques. And I actually sort of did nick one of them, but because I've seen other artists do this too, but she does this in one of her books, and this is quite interesting. So actually to purposefully make a piece of fabric, to fragment it, and she buries them in the ground and lets the earth do its stuff. And I've actually got some pieces in the ground that I'm trying that with. This is a little bit of denim. It already got the holes in it. She bought the denim with the holes in it. I thought that would be interesting for some projects, and I cut 4 pieces off them and I buried them in one of my compost beds, my flower beds, and taking them out at different intervals. So this is the first one to come out just to see what it's done, and it is starting to not disintegrate, but it's changing, which I think is really interesting. I don't know if you can see, it's sort of a bit blotchy. Can you see that? So it is changing its form and the holes are getting bigger as well. And I've left the other ones in there, and I'll bring those out, and hopefully there'll all be these different states that this fabric's in, and just something that I'm interested in, really. But Shelley does that sort of thing in her book, and then she kind of puts them back together and adds stitching and adds paint to them and gets really quite creative with it. So Shelley's work was on display as well, so again, wonderful to see that in person, and to see this something a little bit different to what I would normally do. So it can't be the Embroiderers Guild without bringing out the world's longest embroidery. So this was a project they started in 2003 to commemorate their 100th anniversary. And the last measured, which I think was a few years ago, it was 605 metres long. Now, I think it's the longest embroidery that's not completely covered in stitches, something like that. So basically it has it's a piece of linen, maybe yay high, and it's got a stitch sort of running right through the middle, and then there's lots of little motifs added to it. So you can sit down at a table and you can stitch on this longest embroidery, and they bring it out at all the shows, and you can keep adding to it. I don't know how often they decide to stick a bit on the end and make it longer, which I guess is why they don't know how long it is currently. Last I measured, it said. But you can sit, and there's some threads there, and you can chat to people, and you can sit and you can stitch on the world's longest embroidery. I did stitch on it years and years ago when it came to Hampton Court Palace, where the Royal School of Needlework's based, and they actually came there and they got lots of people there to stitch on it. So I have done some stitching on it before, but it's always fun to see that come out again. So it's called the Knitting and Stitching Show. Not a lot of knitting art on display this year. There certainly has been previously. Lots of people knitting and selling knitting products and knitting wool and knitting kits, but not so much art. But what they also had was the Quilters Guild were there with some pieces from their collection, and they also run a sort of members competition as well that you can enter. So I just want to show you a few pieces from there. So this one was really stunning. So this is A Wind from the North by Andrea Lee McVeigh, based on a painting by J.W. Waterhouse called Boreas. And this is just stunning. It was huge as well, but the movement in it was really incredible with all these layers, so many different layers, colours of fabric in this. I don't even know where you would start with doing something like this. So absolutely stunning. And I just want to read you what she put about it as well. She says, I want to develop my own foundation paper piecing design pattern focused on the movement of the clothing and the unseen force of the wind and the rain. I lost my partner recently, and I tried to capture the sense of unseen forces, desolation, and the ache of a lost love. And I think when you read something like that, it gives a whole new meaning to the piece as well, and you can see those emotions in the piece. So a really personal one there, but it was absolutely stunning. It was huge, and I just thought all these changes of colours and the movement in it was really amazing and well worth a mention. I really wanted to show you that one. So this one is from the novice category. It doesn't look very novice to me. But there you go. It's by Teresa Williams, hand-stitched shibori, and I love everything indigo, blue, hand-dyed, that kind of aesthetic, I think is the word. So this one really caught my eye, and again, these are huge. I can't imagine even setting out to do anything this big. And she had done, let me read what she said, started this quilt attending a workshop at the Festival of Quilts, and we stitched 4 different shibori squares. I then dyed them when I got home. It inspired me to create 5 more patterns and repeat them, and then she made this stunning quilt which is all hand stitched, so hand dyed and hand stitched, and I'm always in awe of quilt makers. So that was a beautiful one. And then this beautiful lady is a female mountain gorilla. And this one's got some different techniques on it, so it's really interesting to see all these different quilt techniques that are going on. So this has got a lot of machining on it and some painting on it, and paint's been rolled on with a brayer to add lots of texture to it. So really interesting to see the techniques, and just the face is just incredible. It's really painterly, so much texture in it, absolutely stunning. So this is by Sue Devaney in the pictorial category. Hand-dyed and printed fabrics, cotton and metallic threads and paint. Lots going on in there, but absolutely stunning. And her tribute to the female mountain gorillas of Rwanda. So that one was quite incredible. So just really different things going on in the quilt world. And then the Quilters Guild also have their own collection, like the Embroiderers Guild do. And I just want to show you this little one from their collection. So this one is Rowena Raymond. think that's how you say it. 1998, Kingfishers Catch Fire, Dragonflies Draw Flame. Beautiful title. Just look at the colours and the textures in it. Just thought that was really lovely. And this one was really small one as well, so you don't have to do massive things go on the wall. You could do nice little small ones. And I just loved all the stuff that was going on in that. The patterns and the colours and the flowers and the kingfishers. Absolutely stunning. So that was the Quilters Guild stand. So I mentioned at the beginning that you can pop in the theatre and go and eat your lunch. Beautiful venue to stop and sit. I'll show you a picture of it because it's really stunning theatre. It'd be lovely to go and actually see something in the theatre. A really nice place just to sit and relax and chill because it is quite a long day. There's a lot to see and you can get really overstimulated. So we stopped and had a bit of a rest, and then it was shopping time. So I haven't bought tons of stuff. I've got so much stuff in my studio, loads and loads. And if you've seen my slow stitching videos, you'll know that I always say go and shop your stash. Go and see if you've got something you can use instead of buying something new. So I haven't bought a lot, but I bought just a few things I thought I'd show you. So I've shown you already the book on the Butterfly Effect project with lots of really interesting ideas in there. And some other things that you can make if you're inspired by that, which I was. So I've got the book. What else did I pick up? Some sashiko threads. Do love using sashiko threads, and there's some beautiful stand there. I think it's Japan Crafts. Really love it. And I actually went up to a counter and said, "Oh, don't let me buy anything from here because I bought something from here the last time." And then I was like, "Oh, those are pretty." So I got some new sashiko threads. They're just so beautifully packaged. Look how they package them. And these ones are really lovely colours. They're cotton, but there's some variegated ones, and then they kind of go a bit sort of mottled, those ones. And then I tried to pick colours that I thought would go with some fabrics that I've got. And I do use quite a lot of sashiko threads, so I bought those. Excited to try those ones out. Didn't buy much at all. Right, I did buy some fabric. I've got tons and mountains of fabric. But I'm doing a specific project and I needed some nice hot colours. It's a little bit of a clue there. Some hot warm colours as the inspiration for the project. And I didn't have any hot warm colours. I got lots of blue stuff and little pieces, and I need quite a lot. So we went hunting for hot colours. So I hope that that says hot colours. And I only bought one I needed for the project. I did actually work out how much I needed. I didn't just come out and, oh yeah, I'll have a metre of everything. I've had a bit less, and if I don't use it all, I have another idea what I can do with it, and I'll make some packs up and you can have it. So hot colours, that's what that was about. And it's really nice to see some other artists at the show. So amongst the shopping, there are some individual artists with their kits that they sell. It's not just fabrics and threads and stuff like that. There's a lot of people selling their kits, and some really beautiful stands, by the way. Really beautifully curated stands. I've got a few favourites. But this was a new lady I haven't met before. So this is Bethany from Blue Coppice. And I bought this tea towel of one of her designs, and these are absolutely beautiful, and the stitching is minute, it's tiny, and she makes these little kits and they're really, really gorgeous. Detailed one, and she's got each kit as a tea towel. So I bought a tea towel, so I thought I might put that up there, go with this one over here, just because I really like that, and it's nice to support people. And again, I'll put all the details for all these people below if you want to go and check them out. But what was really interesting about Bethany was she put one of her pieces into the Royal Academy Summer Exhibition. Now this is a very old art institution who have an exhibition every year for paintings, and for a few years now they've been accepting embroidery as art, which is really wonderful, because there was at some point in its history they banned anything like that. They just said, no, it's inferior, we're not having it in here, thank you very much. So they've done a U-turn, which is fabulous, and you can put your embroidery into it. And she put a little box that she had made into the exhibition. You can see that on her website, and it was stunning. And I just thought that's brilliant, you know, to recognise these skills now as art form and not just a craft form that people sit and do in their spare time. So absolutely wonderful. She was telling us a funny story about how all that went down, and sounds a bit crazy, but just a brilliant achievement to get a piece in there. So if you are interested, you can put your embroidery in the Royal Academy summer exhibition. So go and check that out, check out their website and see how to do that. So that was our day. We thoroughly enjoyed it. It's always exhausting physically and mentally, so much stimulation, but fabulous to see what other people are making, and that people are making so much stuff, so many people making so much stuff. It's absolutely wonderful, especially when you sit at home and you work on your own. Sometimes you can be a bit disconnected from that. So I hope you've enjoyed that little look into the show. You've probably been, if you're in the UK, to one of their shows somewhere, so you will know what it's like, and hopefully you found something really inspiring to see as well. So I've talked a lot about butterflies in this video. If you want to know how to make your very own one, do go and check this video out up here. Really wonderful to use up your scraps and make these beautiful butterflies. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next time.